hello everyone. So yes, a little bit different tonight. We'll be going through a few sort of setup bits, etc., and having a little look through what's changing in Foundry, things like that. As yeah, no game tonight, so I thought I would pop on instead and do a little bit of streaming and sort of if there are questions and bits and bobs that do come up as people jump into the chat at different times, I will attempt to answer them and see how we're doing and kind of go from there. And yeah, this may get a little bit spoilery for Raiders of the Serpent Sea and what's coming up in the future for some of that campaign as well. But yeah, I think overall, to start with, we'll probably go with Foundry version 11 and see where we're at and what we're dealing with now. I know most people haven't updated yet from version 10 to a version 11. That's probably a very good thing, I will say at this point. There is no point in any of this conversation where I've already done the upgrade that I'm suggesting that now is the time that you must do it. But I do think I should be actually pointing out kind of what is and isn't working, and just a few of the caveats of where things are at, and a few new modules that have come up that might be of use to people as well. So I'll try and cover some of that and go from there. So first things first then. So yeah, I mean, all the new features of version 11 seem to be working quite nicely. I think the main takeaway for people that do end up, when they do upgrade, the main things are you're getting inbuilt compendium folders, which is very, very nice. I think that's going to be very useful for all of the compendium stuff. You'll be able to get hold of any of that sort of bits and bobs and yeah, just enjoy that folder structure and make things a lot easier without needing add-on modules to make that work. And the other main one that you gain will be with proximity walls and things like that. So if we go into the walling here, I can start showing some of that and see how that goes for you. So I should see, I do like the new overlays that there are for some of the showing up what type of walls and things you're trying to build. Some of these have gotten very nice over the period, but yeah, we've had ethereal walls, we've had a fair few secret doors we've had for a long time, but window walls, these are the new ones now. So we literally get a new icon here for them, and yeah, if we do pull one out, and if I go into the wall features here and have a quick look. The main thing you're gaining is that tokens have to be within a certain distance of the actual window before they will see in and out of it. Now, I think this is going to be very, very nice for scenes moving forward, and I'm definitely looking forward to starting to make use of that. Now it's in there and working on that front. Let's go and give an example of something like that. There must be a map in here. So spoilers if any of my players are still around. Don't hang around for what's coming up, because we're going to start having a look at some of the maps that are coming up in the campaign. But I'll start off with something that they have already seen as a start point, and we'll use that one as an example. So we're going to go back to the scavenger camp in here. So I will do, as an example, I'm going to change out this side here, imagining this was actually some sort of a window, and we'll just see how well they play. So window walls, let's have a look and see what we get there. Pop one of those in that place, and then let's have a look at the vision here for Rauda and just see how it looks. She can't see into the space because of the distance, and then hopefully as we move closer, yes, we do get the proximity window does work. So that's very nicely done now. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be making more and more use of those as time goes on now. So yes, I'm very happy to be seeing some of that is actually going on. So yes, happy days on some of that as my players are heading off. But yes, luckily no spoilers yet for them on that front. But yeah, so yeah, the main ones are definitely in there and doing their thing on that front. But let's have a look. I think probably let's go and have a look at where we are modules wise, because I think that might help people along to know where we're at. So yeah, at this point, at this date, at the moment we have, let's have a look at the manage modules section here and see what we've got going on. So I am currently running around 111 modules to get everything to work. This is for obviously for 5e. Obviously, it will be different for different systems, etc. at the moment, but it's getting there. It's certainly getting there. I don't feel like there's many things that we've lost so far that are really hindering my game now at this point. We seem to be getting past most of that. One of the ones that is on here at the moment, there is compendium folders, which was the old system of doing folder structure for compendiums before version 11. You do need to, if you've been using them previously, you do need to keep them running before actually moving on to when you're into version 11. This will do an update and bring everything up to the new version. So you do need to keep this on for a bit anyway during the upgrade procedure, etc. But I can probably start turning this off fairly shortly. But yeah, it's been verified for the right versions. Where are we with things that I'm really have been missing? I think the main one I was quite, I'm not happy to see that they seem to not be going for actually doing any updates was Combat Carousel. And basically what Combat Carousel was doing was that it was part of the combat system, whereby whenever we selected everything, there was on screen when we had the players going, it would give a little sort of graphic, etc. of who was doing what and at what stage in the game they actually were. So yeah, we definitely were feeling the miss of that, but good old Ripper has literally made a new module for some of that, which I managed to install today. So hopefully I can get to look at that properly for the first time and just see how that feels as a way forward. It's supposed to be the spiritual successor. So let's grab a few of these tokens here and start seeing what happens now. So I'm going to bring them into some combat here and see how we're doing. And we're going to roll in some initiative and see how they do. And okay, so yeah, we get a new set of token cards across the top with a little pull-out card for each of them. We can begin the combat, and yeah, it highlights who is going to be up in turn. Graphically very nicely done. You can use the next round icons and the next turn icons. Very nicely done. It seems like it's working okay with the monks modules that are doing all of the combat tracking stuff that we normally have. Let's just have a quick look as we move through the turns there. Visually, that is very, very nice. Yeah, I like that. I'll have to see if this works with Monk's Common Display. That's the module that I use for actually doing the streaming. So on my other PC, I run a second instance of Foundry, and that is usually logged in as a player with permissions for viewing all of the players. And it's yeah, it's definitely a good one on that front, and yeah, it's worth going for normally on that front for streaming for me anyway on that front visually. But yeah, hopefully this will also work with that. If I will have to check that out once we're not on stream, but yeah, it's definitely yeah, it's really nice. It's I'm happy with that. I'm glad that that they stepped up for that, and yeah, we've gained a very nice version of that actual thing there. So yes, yeah, that's yeah, as one of someone in the chat is already saying, yeah, it's great to show players where they are and who's up next, and that's absolutely true. And I'm really liking that. That's really nice as a new one for me. But yeah, if anyone hasn't already had a look at this one, it's probably worth a look and see what you think. Excellent. So that's that one out of the way. That's certainly going to be useful on that front. The other one that came up fairly recently for me was, bear with me, I will go and have a quick look in the manage modules, but I think it was something called like Halo or something like that. Here we go. Status Halo. This was pointed out from Crash Gems Discord. Very handy place to go for information on some of these things. There are some very good people in there that do a lot of work on keeping people up to date on what's going on in Foundry as well, which I've found very handy over the years. But yes, this Status Halo one is just something that I think the Pathfinder guys have had a bit of luck with this for quite a while compared to us D&D ones. But basically, when we're adding conditions, etc., and status effects, I believe this now will lay them out around the outskirts edge of the token. And yes, I'm really digging how this is now being done with this module as well. So this was this was sort of something that was definitely in the Pathfinder world, and I think they got that fairly easily. But now someone's ported this over to here as well, so that's very nice to see. So yeah, I've been very happy with that. Nice to see all the effects are working again, and going from there. So yeah, that's all seems to be working, and I'm assuming that's going to be working okay with Defred's convenient effects. So let's try and do it that way as well. So if we go through to Rage, and we're just going to add that straight to a token. If I actually select them, and it does, and all the effects are coming up correctly. So yeah, that's all neat and tidy on that one. So that is all very good. Excellent. Okay, and we will turn that one back off there. So yes, that's another one. So yes, let's have a quick look through the list again, and just have a look at the modules and see what we're currently missing or has not been updated properly going forward. So 3D portraits, that's one of Ripper's modules. That's okay. That, I believe that's already up to date for those that are using that for I believe it's being able to use like a 3D model as the as your custom portrait for your character sheet. 5e Sheet Resource Plus. This used to be quite useful, but again, I've not re-enabled this because this is still coming up as not verified for 11. So I've not really missed it too much. So I've not added it in. 5e Stat Block Importer. This one is kind of important to me. I kind of do feel like I need to be able to have this going. But basically, it's still got a compatibility risk, but I've been finding it's been working, is the honest truth. And basically, this one is used mainly. Well, it is basically in my case really just for being able to plain text import the stat blocks, because I'm running a module that isn't kind of one of the standard ones. Obviously I have to import all of the monsters and bits and bobs. This just allows me to, as long as they're in the right format, I can paste and import them, and I can tweak it a little bit as I need. But yeah, this has been incredibly handy to have, even to the point that even if it's not saying it's the right compatibility version, if it works, I'm keeping it on. So that's definitely made it through. Active auras, that has seemed to make it through. This one's a pain. Active token effects. Some of this stuff, I really want this to be okay. I think this was causing me grief the last time I tried it, but that's been a little while since my last time. But yeah, we really need to get this one back up and version 11 make things okay on that front. But yeah, I do miss that one. That one will be handy to have back as we go. The Adventure Bundler and macros. This is something I was actually trying out to figure out, working on. Is there an easy way to literally bind up everything, including all the art assets that you've put in directories, to actually be able to make a module to pass out and share around, etc. This is supposed to be something that is useful for helping make that happen, but I think I'm struggling because I'm not on a because I'm through the Forge and not hosting directly. I think there may be some setup issues that I haven't actually figured out with that. And I understand from version 11 that packaging stuff up is going to get or is supposed to be a lot easier anyway to make all of that happen. haven't gone into making a module myself or anything like that yet, but it would be nice to be able to put, especially some of the Serpent Sea stuff. There's a lot of AI generated art that could just all go into a folder and be ready on that front to be imported if someone wanted to. But not quite there yet on any of that, when we shall see in time. Yeah, music modules, things like that, I've left them alone. I've not needed to go back through on that one, but I'm sure they're all fine. House Divided was a really good module, but yeah, now now my team have played through it. Haven't really needed to go back on that front. Alpha Suite, I've not really had to go anywhere. Always HP, always the one I need for doing the health bars, etc. for me. So that's this bar down here. I always keep going on, so I can select a token here. I can take a value and I can take it off of their health total, or add it back on, or full health clear them, or set them to dead. It's just a nice, handy, quick way of doing things that yeah, hopefully a lot of people have been using. It seems super useful to me if you're not automating everything with MIDI QOL, which is something obviously I don't do for my game. Yeah, after that we have attack roll check for 5e. That is very, very handy for in my case. I use ready set roll as the dice roller. So this is where when any of these characters are doing a roll, for example here, I do like the dual dice roll, so I always take the first roll, and then obviously if it's at advantage or disadvantage, it can I can take the second roll independent if need be. But also if they've targeted their enemies with their attacks, so if I can use this as an example here. So if Hrolf targets Zisa and then he takes a hand axe to her, which would never happen in the game, but in here on this one, yeah, where I get the full card from Ready Set Roll with all the rolls in here, and it's saying, it's giving me the quick hint of, yeah, it's already hit her armor class. So it's another nice way of just, it's hidden from the players, but it just gives me a nice quick way of knowing that they've definitely been hit. If the players target everybody, which we're getting there, we're doing a lot better on some of that. Yeah, because we've not had to do all the automation stuff within Foundry. They haven't been doing that all the time. But yeah, it's nice to have the animations and all the bits that happen when you do trigger it that way. So yeah, that's a handy module. I'm glad that's kind of yeah, where it should be. Autocomplete whispers and things like that. That's all useful for actually making sure that some certain text is always can autocomplete, etc. If you know, as you start typing, it'll help you along, which is good. Automatic journal numbers. Yes, this one I make quite a lot of use of this one. I'll bring you through to another map where we definitely are in spoiler territory with this. If any of my players are still around, it's time for you to get out. But I will bring you to another one of these maps. Bear with me. So let's go into this one here, and I'll activate and bring it through. So yeah, this is coming up for next week, or sorry, next session. Sorry, we've got a couple of sessions before we'll be back playing this. But yeah, when I tend to set these maps up now, I eventually will go and bring in all the text for all of the rooms, etc., and have it made into a journal entry, which is, I'll take an example of one from a different chapter for a moment. I'm going to take one from Felagar. So I make them all up by their reference of on the map, etc. But what that actual module helps with is things like when I drag this in, it adds all of this extra options down here, so it can make it knows to make this up as a map pin with the correct reference, and then when I update that comes through as a nice map pin for that room, so it stands out nicely for me. So I use that one a lot once all the maps are sort of are actually all populated up. So yeah, that one's definitely if you haven't used it, that is certainly one to take a look at and see what you think. Okay, let's go back into the manage modules and have a look again. Where did we get to? We had done a lot of this stuff. Let's have a look here. System customizer. This is very nice as well. Bear with me, I'll get rid of that for a moment. This has definitely been one that I do think has been useful for building some quick sections on people's sheets, etc. So if they needed to make something custom for their character, which obviously because we're doing another one of these modules that it's not all shall we say straight out of the D&D 5e book, it's kind of handy to have some of these options in here. So I believe this is the part of it with the builder bonus, etc. Sorry, this is the one I actually wanted to talk about, which is on the builder bonus side. But yeah, you can actually go in and make a specific thing up with this, which has been very handy to have over and above the other one. So yeah, it's a very useful. I believe a couple of the players had to build some bits to make it useful on that front. And D&D Beyond Importer, that's just always there. All my players do build their initial characters there, and we import them at every level still. We don't tend to do it all in Foundry. Yeah, it just seems like it seems easier to do it that way, barring we've got all of the custom character sheets, etc. that or the actual extras that we need for the campaign that we have to get into D&D Beyond, which is never the most fun, is the best way of putting it for editing on D&D Beyond. But yeah, we tend to put the time in and get that done that way. Then going down the list, then things that are in use and working, most of Defred's modules are in here. Certainly, that's definitely true. That's obviously convenient effects for doing all of the rage and all of the other possible effects, including some of the lighting ones that we would use, or the class features, etc. You've got all of these ones will be available in here somewhere if you do need them. And then I do put some of them onto the main bar as well. But yeah, it's all nicely done, and yeah, I've been using that over Cub for a long time now. I don't think I would go back at this point, and I don't think you can once you get to the next version, or once you get to V11. I think you're probably going to be going down this route. Dice So Nice, yeah, I have no idea why this is not core Foundry, but yeah, I would be very surprised if there isn't, if there's many games out there that are not having all of the dice options that Dice So Nice is obviously offering for the game. It's just so much better to be able to see all of the nice dice as you go on that one. And I tend to find pretty much all of my players will build their their sets of dice per game that they want and things like that. So they get a lot out of that. And then basically, yeah, we've got more versions of more extra dice. I probably will turn some of these on. I dare say the compatibility isn't really a problem for some of those as that's going on. The dice tray is still turned on, even though, again, that's saying a compatibility has not been verified for 11 at this point. Again, it's one of those few that it's so important that I'll even try and turn it on, even with it saying it's not up to date. They really do need to have these options down the bottom here to just be able to generally roll a little easier if and when something comes up that we just need to roll a d20 or something at some point. It's always much more handy at that point. So yeah, dice tray definitely in there. Drag ruler, yeah, we've been going down this route for a long time. It's generally the one that changes the way that the rulers all work. But I would be very surprised if there's many games that people aren't using drag ruler and these things for doing it. But yeah, it's just so much nicer to be able to drag out and know that now I'm past the 30 feet mark. He's turning yellow where he could possibly make the run if he needed to. or it goes red if you go too far again. You can, I believe you can hold space and go around corners and things like that, and do all of that and do the movements. But yeah, it's just way better, the version of setting up the way movement is done in here. And it did have a few early issues with version 11, but seems to have evened out quite well over time, which is quite nice. It's sort of been broken down into a main module and then by a version for what game you're running now. I think there's a Pathfinder integration, etc. So it used to all just be one module, and I think it's now broken down into a couple of things to make it a little easier, like a main version and then whatever version you're running for your game for 5e or Pathfinder, etc. Or another game. Dynamic active effects, using active effects. Yes, this is definitely one of the ones that we need for all of the extra features that's been giving out. So yeah, I'd be very surprised there's many games that are not using that. I do miss some of these ones under here on that one. I do miss easy notes. That's kind of useful. I've just not been missing it enough to warrant turning it back on when there is still a compatibility warning. Easy polls does what it says on the tin. I really need to make more use of this. I see other people's games and I think they really have really just thought this through a little more than I have. And especially when new players get to the point where they're stuck on some ideas of what way to go, to just have a quick poll and try and get an answer of what way they want to do. Only minor downside to it is I decided a long time ago 6 players was the right answer, so we can still have deadlocks in polls, but it definitely works for help moving things on sometimes when they're getting a little stuck in the minutiae of what to do next and things like that. Effect macros. This was useful for trying to do extra features with macros, I believe. So I think that's why that's turned on. There's also some ability for creating macros dragging off of your sheet that seems to be missing at the moment, but I cannot remember what module was actually giving us the effect. That's the problem with changing versions is knowing exactly what every one of the things that these hundreds of modules you've installed are doing is definitely a thing. But I think from what the guys were saying the other week, when they tried to drag down to make macros, it wasn't working that way, but it was working when they were trying to do it with other features or something along those lines. Let's see if speak with animals. Well, yeah, so you can drag your spells at the moment, but for some reason you can't drag anything from your inventory to the macro bar, which is obviously a bit of a pain for doing when you want to have your weapons, etc. on that front. Now, it's not been too bad because clearly what we always have this one here as well, where whenever they do select their token, my players can always go through and find from their inventory and get things on the quick bar anyway, which is very, very handy anyway. So it's not too bad that you can't drag down at the moment, but it'd be nice to get some of these things back with time, which we will. I mean, don't get me wrong, the community has done, I would say, a pretty amazing job on the amount of them that have really gone through and already done all of the work to get version 11 versions of their modules out. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly more to go, but it's not in bad shape. It's certainly as I'm hopefully sort of kind of semi-proving, it's kind of getting there. And obviously, as we go down this list, you can see if there's anything key in here that you use over and over and you desperately need. And yeah, I'm sure they will get there. And but for right now, yeah, like I said, don't go diving in on any of this. This is more. I feel like I'm more of the glutton for punishment for upgrading sometimes, but I do like to know and see what's coming. And my players are very forgiving for having certain things working and not working on a week for week. you got to remember, I don't. It's just a sort of a home game group. It's not a paid game or anything like that that's going on. So I don't feel too bad about it. And they put up with a lot on that front. But they're very good sports about it on that front. But hopefully get a good game out of it. So it swings and roundabouts, and they let me stream it. So I don't complain too much on any of that. Well, next, going down the list, file picker improvements. I don't know if this is actually much use anymore. This used to be really, really handy when you were actually getting to the point of actually picking pieces of artwork or something along those lines. We used to have like a favorite section here that would come up for certain directories and things like that. So I think that now that this is all sort of inbuilt into Foundry 11, I'll have to double check when I turn this off. But I believe it's not doing as much as I remember on that front now. In fact, I think I will try turning that one off and just see where we're at with just Foundry's own internals, if that makes sense, and see how that is working. So bear with me. I'll just let it reload. Whenever you change and turn off or on any modules, you do have to do a reload. So yeah, let's have a look and see what we're getting when we reload here this time. Okay, so yeah, let's go back in here and imagining I'm changing the bit of artwork. Yeah, so this favorite section is actually built within Foundry 11 now. I'm not sure how long it's been in there, but I'm assuming it's Foundry 11 that's adding all of these favorites. So I'm assuming I can add current folders to the list. Okay, so yeah, we can just add areas and bits and bobs. This is really handy for doing it. When I do my assets library, I tend to do it by game, so Raiders of the Serpent Sea. And then I kind of make up sections for tiles, tokens, etc., all that sort of thing. But it sounds like I can now add those, nicely to the list and do it that way. Not too shabby. I'll have to go through and add a few more of these to make it a little bit more useful. But yeah, that's nice and tidy now. So I will. I'll leave that module turned off. And what I'll do is at the end of the session, I'll redo my list that I'm currently running for version 11 and just make that all tidy, so people can go through and have a quick look and see what is and isn't working from that point of view, and see what they think. So okay, well that's a module we can lose. We can obviously lose compendium folders as well, and because that one will be done after it's done its updates. But I'll leave it turned on for now, as sort of talking about before. Okay, going back down the list, we were firmly in territory here with the file picker improvements, etc. I haven't find the culprit back on, but very handy when you do need it. But I don't leave it turned on. I tend to only bring it on when I'm finding there are issues. But it's nice to be able to turn on and off modules with that and find what one is causing you the grief when it is actually a thing. Follow me. Yes, this one has been very useful for my player that has a companion pet. Basically, he can click on his pet when it's there, and I believe he can just literally press F and then have the wolf follow his token around. So that can be quite handy, I believe. So if I then do something like that and move his token around, I believe I may have done it the wrong way around, but yeah, if I do click the dog and then click him and then start following him around, the token will follow. But yeah, that was very handy once we realized that was a thing, and we managed to get rid of there was a token flip module that was using F at the same time. So yeah, but this one is way more useful in this particular game. So yeah, that was nice to find when the time comes. But again, it's it's working, but again, not verified for version 10. So another one I felt I needed to turn on. Thorin's quest log. This is going to get more important coming forward for my players as we're starting to get more and more into the plot now. What I've given them on the main homepage is I've given them options for a question mark here, and I believe it because I've set it up as an active tile. They can double click it, and bring up the quests that are available to them. And I think in the next week, because we are starting to get into some more plot-driven stuff now that we're into the first saga, which is chapter 2 of the of Raiders, that's certainly going to become more of a thing. So I'm going to go through and start populating a bunch of quests just so they know what they've got on their plate. There's certainly some spoiler stuff coming up for a couple of the players. Rauder has some bits that are going to be coming up in this next section of the game that we need to cover as well. So that, yeah, I'm going to make sure that they're all across what their characters know from some of their backgrounds. They all have epic sort of backgrounds, kind of like Odyssey of the Dragon Lords had their epic backgrounds, but they're just a bit more fleshed out, I think, and it's just probably the best way of putting it. So then it becomes a full background in this campaign, where it wasn't as much in Odyssey, but it was. Don't get me wrong, it was very, very good in Odyssey, but it feels very motivating for the characters again within this one. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to now they're starting to get a bit to the more of the meat of the story, them starting to learn a bit more about some of their characters' pasts and things like that. So that's going to be very handy. So yes, I'm going to make full use of the quest log coming forward, and I'll start to bring it forward for some of that. Community macros and tables. I don't think this is fully updated yet, but I've certainly marked it as okay for now. It doesn't seem to be causing any grief, but it's just nice to be able to get to the compendiums with some of these extra community macros and bits and bobs. I'm sure any that need to change, they will get to very, very, very soon on that front. And then we have content parser on this one. I can't recall exactly what that one was doing. Let's just have a quick reminder of it was another way of importing some of the bits into the world from PDFs and from other bits and bobs. I don't use that as much, but I certainly felt that it should be there if I could use it. But it was certainly updated, so it's come through into my latest list for version 11. FX Master, still doing all of the weather effects, etc. I mean, that's not changed in many a version, really. There's just been a few extras over time, and it certainly still does what it does quite nicely, and yeah, it still gives us the options easily for setting up the weather effects on the actual playthroughs, etc. of the maps. So yes, I don't think that's going anywhere for a while. Although I must admit, we are starting to see more and more of Foundry's own ones within the software. I think we've actually gained a couple of new ones actually from Foundry themselves for some of the weather effects as the base versions. So yeah, we've got obviously a lot of the FX Master ones have populated in this list, but yeah, I believe some of these are new. I think Rainstorm was one of them. I could be wrong. Yeah, no, it helps if I'm actually on the scene that I'm actually going to be looking at on that front. So yeah, we gained a strong rainstorm as a weather effect from them. That's quite nice. And then there was another one. I think the snow and the blizzard effects are actually both better now. Yeah, I may have to use that one more often. I do like the look of the way the particle effects are now on this latest version. I definitely think they've. There's always nice extras with Foundry when they do go through, and they'll always add little tweaks to the lighting or bits and bobs over the versions. But yeah, the rendering just definitely does always get better with each version. whether the processing on each version gets better or everything gets slower. But yeah, it does seem like this version's we're 3 stable releases in now. It certainly feels like we're getting to a reasonable point. But yeah, the new weather effects that are in here are just lovely done. So yeah, well done Foundry team. It's certainly good. So yeah, obviously you still got the FX Master ones, and I'm sure they've definitely been adding to that list as well, which has been nice. So yeah, that stays in as before. Gatherer. Now, this one is something I started for this campaign with one of my players that's basically doing a lot of sort of hunter-gathering stuff, and we just wanted to have a sort of a bit more of the mini game of doing that. But Ripper has come out with a really nice couple of modules that I've really sort of, we haven't seen a lot of the crafting side yet, but the Gatherer and the crafting together that he's come out with are very, very good. I must admit, I've been liking that. So if we go through to this player's card here, and we go for looking for the, I believe it's going to be under we've got the crafting side of things is in here, and we do have the herbalist stuff in here. So I've got to go through and make sure he can only see the permissions for the correct bits. At the moment, it seems like he has all of the, since updating the modules, he seems to have all of the options for all of the herbalist stuff and alchemist, etc., all of that. But I think I'm really liking that he's been doing the gathering stuff to collect these bits, and he can now use some things to start building his own ingredients or potions of healing, bits and bobs like that. But I've been really liking this. So this has just been updated to version 2. So there's apparently there's a lot more going on in here. I need to go and have a look through. I think it's only been in very recent that it's gone to version 2. But I'm going to have a proper look through, and I might do a video on updating on what's going on with Hunter Gatherer and Master Crafted, because they are definitely something that is added to the game, and I think the players are starting to enjoy at least the beginnings of getting things. As they start to go up as they unlock more books, they'll be able to do a lot more clearly as we've got a lot of things in here. I haven't gone through and built my own books yet, but I think I might have to do a few custom ones for specifically for this campaign, because I'm sure there's some things that it would make sense that they were able to build or get hold of that would be more useful. I have to go through the book a little bit more and see what makes sense and start adding in some recipes. The work of a DM is never done. There's always more. So yeah, I'll be looking at that at some point. There's so many things to put on the list. That's definitely true. GM notes still useful. I certainly like to have options for hiding some bits on their sheets where I can write some stuff that they're not aware of and keep some notes. I tend to keep most of my notes, etc., in Notion rather than within Foundry itself, just because I spent a lot of time going to and from London for work, and a lot of my mental processing of the campaign, etc., is usually done thinking through in a morning or an evening whilst on my phone and going through things that way rather than sitting here prepping everything here. But I always make sure I have my maps and stuff like that in Foundry, obviously. But my notes tend to be kept fairly separate, but that's just my own choice. It has enough tools in here to be of use, but accessing them easily from a phone or something like that is not quite something that's going to be very useful at the moment. Group roll checks and saves. Yeah, that's kind of definitely been useful over time as well for literally being able to select a group and just roll for the lot of them. Definitely a time saver. Hey, wait, I keep thinking I'm going to use this, and it's just not something that comes up very, very, very often. I think it's going to be one of these ones where I'm going to need it for some sort of a set piece where I need when they go to close to a certain room that it pauses things or sets up a sequence of events occurring that just make things trigger in a way that will be useful. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a good module. It's just not one that I've ended up using all that often as of late. Is certainly true. High GM rolls. I don't know how much this is doing these days, but I'm assuming, looking at the streams and stuff, it has been hiding most of my rolls when I'm set up to go that way. So I keep it on, and it seems to be verified. So I don't see the reason to get rid of it. Hover distance, that's quite nice to if you do have people that are flying around or doing things like that are in the scenes, etc., and people do hover over it. I believe they can actually work out their distance to that character from the one they own. So apparently that's been useful to them. Not been so much for my end, but yeah, certainly maybe for the players. We'll see in the long run. Item containers still gets used by the D&D Beyond importer. So yeah, I've certainly kept this on, and I believe item macro as well. Definitely needed for parts of the import process if you're bringing in certain things. That I believe this is also a requirement. So I've left this one ticked and in. Item piles. Yeah. I definitely need to be looking at using this more for making the in-game world a pile of treasure or a chest or something along those lines. I tend to have been using monks' journals and monks' active tile triggers to do it that way, just because I've kind of do most things through monks, is the honest truth. But it's certainly supposed to be very good, and from what I've seen, it is good. I just haven't needed to go through it very often in my case. JB2A, their collection of animations, etc., is always excellent. I certainly think my players get a lot out of it, especially if they're targeting people and they actually do some of their roles. I believe when all the animation stuff is working, and you see all the axes coming down and the attacks are happening when they remember the target, I think it adds to the game quite a lot. And I can't recommend it highly enough. It's certainly well worth following that Patreon. I don't think I would be without it at this point. On this point, looks like a few others that seem to be coming along that I haven't added in. Chris's Compendium of Trade Goods. I think that's been useful in the past. That seems to be verified, so I will certainly be turning that one back on. Less fog. I kind of used that quite a lot previously, but I'm not sure how much it's been really worrying me. The level of darkness that my vision is seeing lately as a GM. I think they've got that sort of dialed in a lot better. I think I'm getting less out of that lately, but it is now verified, but I haven't felt the need to turn that back on. It's certainly a thing. Let me roll that for you is kind of useful. I certainly have had times where I've wanted to roll for the players and it's nice and easy using that, but again, because it's not verified, I'm not worried. I do miss Let's Trade. I do think that's very useful for the players to be able to trade between their characters nice and easily. It certainly is a decent way of doing it and seems to work. But again, I've not bothered turning it back on as of yet. So yeah, certainly something to look at. But once it's back on, I'm sure that one will be being turned back on. So then we've got Ripper's levels add-ons, all the different ones that he's done for that. I wish I got more out of levels than I do. I find it. I don't know if there is a better way of doing what they're trying to do in levels with building the levels on top of each other, it just gets really confusing as a GM. Just seeing all of the layers and figuring out where they're on and what they're at. And for my game as well, because I'm streaming it and passing it off to another computer, I kind of think I prefer my current way of doing things, which is that I lay out on with active tiles and have the other level on the somewhere else on the map nearby. And honestly, that's worked okay for now. I know there's been some Bailey Wiki and a few others have done some really good videos on going through some of this in depth, but yeah, I haven't gone through and done the time to warrant it, is the honest truth, and it really hasn't come up that many times that we've been like desperate for having the map work out to be directly above. But I think with time, and I believe in newer versions, we'll get to a version where the layout of using of levels, maybe there'll be some of the extras that core Foundry will add in will make that more useful. But for now, it's certainly not been a big one for me, so I kind of left it. LibBlocky, I kind of interesting one. I'm not the best macro coder in the world, so it was kind of nice to have a system where it kind of gave you some visual ways of working out what was going on with that. So yeah, I probably will turn that back on when we get a version that's updated. That will certainly be a thing when the time comes. And then yeah, library modules. I've just been letting them turn on when they've asked to. So far, with other modules, I've not gone out of my way to turn too many on. The only one I definitely worry about library-wise is copy environment. This is the nice, easy way of me getting my list of what modules I'm currently using and being able to take a backup and things like that. I mean, it's so nice to be able to come up and literally just go and find the settings section here and just right-hand click and export the settings as or export the text of what modules I'm using. Yeah, it's always been good, and yeah, it will continue to stay part of this list. SingPacker, I need to have a look more at this again, because I certainly have seen it's useful when you're trying to bring in things from Modern.net, or if some of Bailey Wiki stuff, and just drag and drop. I just don't tend to build scenes via dragging in sections of tiles to make up a whole scene. So yeah, it's useful, but in my game it tends to be I make the one general map and work from it from there, instead of going in too much else on other ways. The rest of the libraries, yeah, I'll certainly leave alone on that front. Link item resource, that's always been something that's just been needed. Live kit, this one is definitely made the cameras in Foundry better. I don't know if over the versions that the standard version of the cameras, we don't play on the stream with the cameras on, but with certainly my players are all on camera to my main screen, which is always handy to have, I must admit. And we've been like that since days in Roll20, so we might not show it on the stream, but we certainly are interacting with each other via that within Foundry. But the live kit version, where it just means you're streaming to that instead of to every player, and doubling up or tripling up on all of the data that's going on there, has certainly been, when it's been working, has been very, very useful. So that's certainly been staying on. Lock view gets used less and less lately, but it's still one that I do need when I'm actually doing the games and trying to stream them. The main reason I tend to keep it on is when we're doing the scenes, for example, like the sort of static scenes. Let me bring this through a little bit here. I tend to have the stream locked to a screen size so that it just shows just that at all the time, and the lock view just helps do that. And that just overrides the Monk's sort of screen views that that's doing, because normally you have to pick between GM or combat, things like that, or the party, and it will scale around the screen on the map to pick up only those people and a little bit more of the screen around them. But lock view just sort of kind of overrides that and just locks the screen. So it's really nice for these sort of story pages that I've been doing more and more of with active tiles. We'll stop and just go through a little bit of what's going on with that. So if you see up here, what I've got is I tend to make up all the pictures I need for the scenes across the top here, and then you can literally normally like double click on them and bring up the next picture. Basically, because if active tiles has got all of these triggers in here, this has got multiple images, and if I do change what tile it is, but it seems to be slightly busted right now, possibly because I've been playing around with active tiles a little bit. But it's usually, this is how I get these story pages to work in ways that make sense. So I tend to have the images here as a double click. I can just quickly go to as I'm going along. I tend to have all the NPCs around the outside of the map ready to go on that front. And then this top row here is I usually make these up as the player, or sorry, the NPC that's speaking. I'm trying to get better at having these up on screen when they're actually sort of speaking. There's a couple of modules that are coming along that are hopefully are doing some of this sort of stuff, sort of agnostic of the page you're actually on, which I'm sort of following at the moment, but I'm kind of doing it very manually with active tiles at the moment. But yeah, I certainly think there's a chance that some of that will change with a little bit of time. I think probably one of the better examples is if I go in here and we go back to chapter 1 and we go looking for something like not the nowhere town page was probably a very good example of this, of all of this going on. So yeah, this was set up with the map, and I had the player icon here, etc. And literally as they were going through the sections here, I could choose the imagery that was going on at the time. Most of the players would be off to one side, and as you came to a scene, I was changing that across as they were going, and then obviously as they were coming up against NPCs, I was bringing all those up so that they could talk to them. So yeah, I'm liking this sort of. I think this sort of static sort of theatre of the mind stuff is sort of the way I'm going for a lot of things to keep the story progressing, especially when we've got lots and lots of places to go, especially in the town. I definitely like the idea of doing it this way around. I think it was relatively successful, as is the honest truth. So I was quite happy with most of that. But there's going to be a lot more of these sort of pages going forward when they're not on a main battle map and things like that. So yeah, it's a good one. The only thing I have found so far with version 11 is that we used to be able to do, we still technically can. You can have these images are triggering on a double click, and the action is just to switch the image at the moment. I used to have them fade in, but at the moment I think that's crashing out active tiles. I think that's actually causing a bit of a bug there. So as long as the transition is set to not be any sort of a fade at the moment, it seems to be working fine. So I've gone through and set them up, and there is one other module involved that is also helping with this that I do think is definitely worth mentioning, and I believe that was, bear with me if I close that down and go back to the actual manage modules list. I believe that was a bit further down the list. Let's have a quick look at that one. Where was he? Not template, tagger, there we go. Yeah, so tagger allows you to set up some tags that you can use as a point of tagging an image. So in this case, I've made this main tile. I've called it. It's got a tag of tile 1. So when I start building some of these actions in here with the triggers, etc., I have it actually triggering that tile or that tag rather than specifically that entity. And I think what I've found is when I copy these actual scenes later on, all of these things carry on working, whereas they wouldn't if it's specifically for the ID of the actual tile, etc. So yeah, that's another handy one on that one. But if you're not doing that kind of scenes on a basis, and you might want to give it a go as an option. I certainly think it's worthwhile doing as a sort of especially for sort of travel scenes or if you've got lots of things coming up. Other things on the list then. Let's have a quick back through the module list again. Where did we get to? At the moment, we were getting relatively far down the list. We got through all the lock views and the libraries, the maps. I turn these on and off as I need them rather than going too dramatic. That's actually something useful with Module Management Plus, is you can actually have saved sort of lists and have them turn on and off at the moment. Currently, like I said, I've managed to get to about 110 modules. Wow, I've got a lot of modules installed. I do forget how many are in. But yeah, I'm using 110 of them, for actual game night rather than setup. But yeah, like I said, the list changes a little bit on that front when that is a thing. Next on the list, then, mass edit. Incredibly handy to be able to select a lot of things at once, drag and drop them, mess about with their settings, anything like that. Probably should be Core Foundry at some point, is the honest truth. It's that useful. But yeah, we shall see. Mastercrafted, yeah, working, and going to go back through in more detail on that one. But that's from Ripper again, very useful. Module Management Plus, that's what's giving me all of the extras in here. So yeah, it's nice and easy to work out who the author are and some extra info, which is nice and useful. So it's certainly, and also to be able to save out presets, etc., for what modules you have on and off. Yeah, definitely one for the list that I've kept. And then I think pretty much everything Monk does, or getting close to it, is probably installed at this point. I think it's just one of those things of when I first started using Foundry, I think Monk's sort of modules were making ease of use of Foundry so much better at the time that I can't imagine not having them turned on, is the honest truth. With the way things are, but yeah, they're all certainly very, very useful. I think Monk's Enhanced Journal is probably the one where I'm kind of like, I keep going back and forth whether or not to move away from at some points, but it's still incredibly useful to have all the extra sheets that it allows. So if I go back over to the journal side of things, so for those that don't normally use it on that front, but yeah, you gain well, that's a picture image, so that's not as useful. But if we go in here and actually sort of have a look at what you get with some of that, okay, he's changed some of it at the moment because these are his own sheets. It's not bringing up all of the sidebars. But yeah, if I create a new text in here, and it's going to be one of the standard ones instead of the single sheet ones which are coming from Enhanced Journal. So I'm going to just create a new one in here. Yeah, you do get kind of a lot of extra bits coming from Monks, etc. Having more double bars and bits and bobs like that, it's a little weird. But yeah, the actual sheets and things that you're getting out of Enhanced Journal has just been so useful over time, just to be able to separate things out, and especially making shops and things like that with it has been really, really handy. And I'm just struggle to move too far away from it at the moment. I think that's certainly definitely one of the higher ones. The combat markers and bits like that. I just love the way that they look within Foundry. So they're certainly been really good. And I think one of the sort of the best ones is, well, scene navigation. I do love having all of the extra scene navigation stuff. I keep forgetting that Core Foundry doesn't do it all quite the same way. But yeah, it's certainly a nice one. But I do like having the this one down on the side here, because this is kind of definitely been useful to have as a quick guide. So yeah, basically having the sort of the token bar here from monks is it's insanely useful. Be able to click on this sheet from there if you need be, or if we go in, I believe we can start doing other bits if we want to from in here, and I believe we can even do some contested rolls and bits and bobs. It comes up, but yeah, it's certainly I've found making sure that this has the AC and what their passives are and the health, etc., has all been yeah. I can't imagine not having it turned on at this point, is the honest truth. Other ones, Monks does a few extra things for the wall enhancements that is just again, should probably be core. Moulinet, still useful, I think, and certainly I know a lot of people make better use of it than I do. Some little bits of it have not been fully come up to version 11 yet, so they've not been totally turned on. But still, if you're willing to save them in and out of the cloud and things like that, it's certainly still useful. And I do still go in there and drag a few things from their little collection every so often that can be very useful. That's certainly true. Going down the list a little bit further, what else do we have left still on? NPC generator. That's I kind of think this is useful, but I don't use it enough, especially when it's just nice to get a quick NPC when you need one. It's certainly easy enough to build one in there, and you just quickly do a generate NPC, and you can have some random bits. Could do with setting up some of the artwork and things like that to do it randomly and quickly, but something I've always think they're gonna get more use out of eventually on that one. Party inventory, I personally this is turned on again even without the verification, but it seems to be working okay so far from what I'm seeing. But it's just nice to have an inventory that is sort of shared amongst the group nice and easily, that they can add and subtract stuff from. Nice to be able to put stuff in there, especially as sometimes when you import your sheets from D&D Beyond, if you haven't clicked the right settings, it's not always the best to be losing everything each time as things are re-imported. So it's nice to have some options there. So that's definitely useful. Pop out, I always leave that left on mainly for so my players can actually pop out their sheets if they need to on the desktops, etc. It's definitely useful. Quick insert search, I can't imagine not having that option of just literally control and space and then looking up something from any of the compendium packs and just seeing what you can find and just drag them out onto the thing. Yeah, too useful. Once that arrived, no, that was never going to go anywhere. Ready, set, roll. So yeah, again, this comes back to my preferred thing of wanting to see 2 dice rolls. I know a lot of people do MIDI QOL, but yeah, it's certainly one that I prefer doing things that way, especially when you have all the extras added on as well. A few more of these other ones. I might have to have another look at RPG damage numbers, see if it looks reasonable for the stream or not. I'm not sure how much benefit that gives, but it might make it a bit too gamey. I'm not sure, but I'll certainly have to have a look at some of that. Sequencer and all the automatic animations, etc. Certainly, they all need to be on that front. Show art is in here basically because I originally played on Roll20, and I Shift Z in my head is show token art. So being able to have that replicated in here is kind of important to me, just because it's muscle memory at this point. That seems to still be working, even though it's not necessarily showing as verified. But again, it needs to be. Show notes just makes it nice and easy that any pins that the players need to be able to see are automatically on in their game, which is handy. Simple calendar, yeah, I do tend to run it for this campaign. I must admit I've been lax in doing it in past games, but I've certainly been trying to keep the dates and times as been going through on a calendar that make sense as the game's been going on. But it might become more important as time passes, and more time will pass, that certain things may be time sensitive in the campaign as they go a bit further on. And I think we're getting closer now. Splatter is the giving all of the blood type effects when they get hit, etc. I think that's kind of useful. I do miss Heartbeat, which is one that's not been updated yet, which makes the screen so it goes darker and more bloodied for them when they're getting close to death. So I think that's been kind of cool. Status Halo I've kind of covered. Yeah, I definitely do like that one, and how the symbols are all sort of splayed around the outside of the characters when you do actually go Great Weapon Master and they're petrified and all the rest of it. It definitely looks a lot better to have them around the edges, which is good. Tagar, I've kind of covered that one a little bit already. Template macro, I can't recall exactly what it's been needed for, but I'm certainly one of the other modules needed it for bits and bobs. Ripper 93's hub module, that's just handy to keep up to date on when his modules need updating, etc. But I do tend to wait for, he does with his Patreon, he tends to do a monthly mega pack where all of his modules and all the updates are in that one zip file that I then load into Forge, and then I live with them for a month. Tiny 5e sheet, not verified in here, but we've gotten so used to the layout, I can't imagine not having the actual sheets laid out this way for the players. They miss it when it's not actually there, so it is kind of handy to have as one for that kind of thing. Tile scroll, that's the one that's allowing for all of the animations of backgrounds, etc., for like when the boats are moving, etc. Let's see if I do have a ship at sea. I'll load that in for 1 second. So yeah, tile scroll is allowing all of the background to do all of the movement, etc., that's going on here. And it's just been doing what it says on the tin. And I think that was another one of Ripper was picking up, where another module was Parallaxia. That was it, as was not going to continue to be updated. So yeah, I think he took that one on. And definitely been good on that front. And then we have Token Action HUD for 5e. Again, another sort of staple of the game. I can't imagine not having this sort of overlay extra. I know a lot of people use or like Argon Combat HUD, but it's a little bit over the top for me in my personal game. I kind of find this one a little bit more minimal in that respect, which is just a little more handy, but definitely still all good. The auras stuff and token attacher, these are just generally needed for certain things, and just to be able to visualize auras and things. I think that's going to become more and more important as some of the paladin get a bit higher up in levels, etc. Token HUD wildcard, still very useful for when you're dragging in creatures, etc., and you want to have them randomize their health, their size, and randomize the name. So yeah, it's been worth keeping in the game. So that's still one we need. token magic effects, still great for giving little effects and features on tokens. So still things like setting up an aura or a glow or something around a token, and then with a macro and then clearing it. It's all certainly possible and useful on that front. Token variant art. This is one I have added but very rarely use at this point. But I believe we can go into the token and we can change some of the appearance and stuff via selecting variants, etc. in here. So I think we can do searches, etc. for certain things. So I'm going to start building out a little list of options for especially for like random NPCs and things like that use some of that stuff that will be quite useful. User latency, I just like to know how in milliseconds how long it's taking to ping and whether or not we're losing connection and things like that. It's handy to see how for example, some of my players like Conrad is in the States, and it's good to know if he's lagging out a lot more or if it's fairly stable and things like that. But it seems to do all right. But it's obviously he's having to talk to European servers. It's obviously it's a lot longer, so it's just nice to have a visual reference of what's going on there. Wall height, I don't set it up enough for a lot of the scenes, etc. But it definitely has its moments where you need to do cliffs or different things at different heights. It's certainly very useful, nice to have. Again, I could probably be turning on some of the level stuff if I was getting more into some of that. But I've not really gone down that route for a while, so that's kind of been on the back burner. And Warp Gate, this is kind of for the companion manager, which I believe we'll start getting a bit more into, especially for some of the characters. I believe Jess's druid will need a bit of some of this with some tokens at some point and bits and bobs. So yeah, I've got to start adding a bit more to that. But that kind of brings us to the bottom of the general list here and where we're going. But like I said, a few sort of standouts that are not come through so far. But overall, it's not a bad list, and it's certainly playable at this point. But like I said, make sure that everything that you need and is already updated before you go for it. And you certainly have some more time. If you're on the Forge or one of those, I probably would wait till the point when they actually set that as the stable release that they're actually suggesting to you. Is probably not a bad point to wait to. And obviously don't do it at a key point and like you're about to go into a game in the next hour or something. Certainly make sure you build in some time to actually deal with any problems after the update. But it's getting there is the answer. And hopefully it's given you a little bit of an overview of what I'm seeing and how things are sort of generally going. I think I'll probably be calling it there for tonight and go over that. But I think I will pop back on at some point, and I'm going to go through. I think we're going to be having a one-shot next week because we're still missing players, and I'm torn at the moment between trying out Foundry's new game system, which is called Crucible, which I don't know enough about, but I'm certainly interested in seeing a system that is fully digital on that front within Foundry. I'm kind of very interested to have a look in that in more detail. And of course, there is obviously having a look at Pathfinder 2. We certainly have been strongly considering, shall we say, what our options are going to be after this campaign finished. It was too much for me to move on to a new system for this one in my head anyway, but we certainly will be looking at what we'll be playing going forward after this campaign, which is going to be a long while. I mean, we've probably got a year of Raiders of the Serpent Sea at least, if that's probably even being conservative at this point. But I will certainly be back probably in the week some point, and having a look at some of these other systems and seeing what we get. I'm going to end it there, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.